All right, we are live. Let's start sending out all those messages. Whoever is here, let me know if you can hear me. There's my alarm. All right. Sweet. If you are watching this replay, skip 4 or 5 minutes ahead. I give everybody a 4 to 5 minute grace period just so we can all start together and they don't miss anything. In the meantime, we'll just hang out and look at some charts. Whoever's in here, if you can hear me, give me a yes in the chat or a Y. Either one is fine. And for those who are in here, let me know if you can see my screen. Sweet. Welcome, Witchblade. Great to have you here with us. Let me know if you can see my screen as well. Cool. All right, yeah, we'll just wait 5 minutes, let people slowly come in. It is a Sunday. Yeah, I wonder if there's a game today. I hope there isn't. Yeah, so in the meantime, as we wait for some people, I'll just speak out loud to myself. This is a new layout that I'm working with or testing out for this upcoming week and see if it works better for me. Generally, my old setup when I'm trading would just be 3 charts. So I'll have these 2 charts with YM or whatever futures that I'm trading. And then I have whatever I'm trading for options, usually Tesla or NVIDIA on the right side here. And then that's basically it. However, what I found is that besides the strat setups that I usually take, I'm usually looking for other setups that I look for on very specific time frames. So what I'm thinking of doing is, or not what I'm thinking of doing, what I'm going to do this upcoming week is, man, that's a 15-minute reversal off this BF. Beautiful. That was a nice 30 points. Should have gotten on this before I talked to you guys. Oh, whoops, I'm looking at the wrong thing. All right, we're all on the same page. I was looking at data from previous day. Anyway, so yeah, what I'm gonna mess around with this week is I'll use these 4 charts for futures on different time frames. I'll have probably the 5-minute here, a 15-minute here, and then probably like the 1 hour and the 30-minute and then the 1 hour. Since they're specific setups I look for on those specific time frames. Because when I only had these 2, I would cycle between all those time frames. So I'll see if this works better for me, just so I can like cycle through less time frames, since they'll just be there fixed. Generally, I like to have less on my screen so I'm not so overwhelmed, but we'll see. We'll start in another 2 minutes and let people come in. And one thing for people who may trade options, something that I do enjoy is, let's say if I'm trading Tesla, the chart up here, I have a box down here that's set to the contract itself. So if I'm trading the stock, let's say, for example, we have Tesla. Let's say for the sake of the conversation, we print short tomorrow, or we trigger short tomorrow. And what? We'll trigger short at 238.38. So my target will probably be, first target is 236.86-ish, around there. Let's just say I do a 236 put for tomorrow on Tesla. Well, 235 in this case. Is the put side? Sheesh, those freaking contracts are juiced. I'm probably not going to trade Tesla. That IV is crazy. But for the sake of the conversation, let's move that to blue. So now for tomorrow, when I'm trading this contract, I can see the stock, what it's doing, and I can see what the option is doing as well, just to make it a little easier for me. And I'll see how that works out. If I recall correctly, I usually just buy and sell on my phone really quickly since that's what I'm used to. So I think when you set take profit and bracket orders, you can adjust it on the screen itself. So actually, I wonder. I'll try that later on. All right, cool. It is 5 minutes past. Whoever is not here will catch the replay. Excellent. All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Advent, and I'm not a financial advisor. Anything that we go across or go over in today's call or any of my content that you see, it is not to be taken as financial advice. This is strictly for educational purposes only. And with all that being said, today's class, we're going to focus on journaling, why it's important, why we need to use it in order to be successful as traders. And I'll go over details on my journaling process. I have updated it recently just to give more details and more information to better help us. For those who are in here, as always, I always ask for not cooperations, but participation. So if you are in here and you haven't already, hit the like button or hit the little thumbs up button as a even exchange per se. Since I am giving you a free class, all I ask for is a like or a thumbs up on the video. We need at least 50% participation. We got 7 people in here. All right, we got all the likes. We got 6 likes and 7 people. Thank you, everybody. Cool. So just to confirm, before I officially begin, you can ask questions as we go through the material. I'll do my best to answer it as I go through the class. I might not answer it immediately just because I can go off on tangents a lot, and I want to stick, to whatever I'm talking about to not lose that train of thought. But you can definitely ask questions as we do go through the material. What I would say as well is when I get to the questions or the questions that you guys ask, please have them in relation to today's class. So if you start talking about options and what Greeks mean and things like that, I'm not going to answer that. You're more than welcome to look at my other content that I have on the channel, or you can book a session. Today is strictly for journaling, and we'll stay in the vein of that today. Cool. So with all that being said, let me bring up my screen. And let me know if you guys can see my screen. Give me a yes or a Y in the chat. Either one is fine. Hey, Yesin. Great to have you here. Hope your Sunday's going great. All right, cool. Now let's bring this up and let's minimize this and let's make this bigger. Can you guys see this, what I have on the screen, the journal, the trading journal template? Cool. One thing I want to mention is when I say something, it's a little delayed on your end. So if you see me kind of just like staring awkwardly at the screen, it's just because there's a delay between when I speak and when you guys respond back. So getting started, when it comes to journaling is going to be a big key in your trading career and being successful in your trading career. Now, I find a lot of traders that are having issues in their trading and people that I've worked with, I always ask this question: do you journal? And they're probably going to say no, or they're going to say, Yeah, here and there, I kind of do it. Sometimes I haven't really been on it. I've been a little lazy and this and that. And I always respond to that in this way, if you have poor habits or poor practices, you're going to get poor results. So poor practices, poor habits, poor results, poor performance, etc. And to give you guys an analogy, let's say you have a business, let's say you have a restaurant. If I have a restaurant and I'm selling specific dishes and I'm not keeping track on what's selling, what people like, what people don't like, I'm going to have a real hard time being profitable because I don't know if people like the lobster dinner or if they like the steak dinner. As a quick little analogy for you guys. So, to get started, we'll go step by step in each point that I have here, and I'll go into as much detail as I can. Again, any questions, you are welcome to ask it in the chat. I will pause here and there just to make sure that you guys are following me and that you don't have any questions regarding what I went over. And then we'll go over into the weekly review section as well. So, getting started, when it comes to journaling, you can either physically journal your trades, which is what I used to do a long time ago. To be transparent, I got lazy because I started trading, options, futures, and stuff like that, and taking more trades than before. So I just use TraderSync, which is an online trading journal. It's in the description in this video, where I just upload all my trades and then I just type out, the responses to all these questions, just to make it easier for me when I'm journaling and to save some time. Because when I upload it, it has the ticker, the day, how much I made, the time I took the trade, etc. And then more of the other details I'll just have to manually input myself. So it just saves me time. I think they give you a free trial for 7 days, and then if you let it run out, I think it's 50% off for the year. I use the pro version, which is $180, which is nothing over the course of the year. Cool. So when it comes to trading, again, we want to collect as much information as we can so we can figure out what works for us, what doesn't work for us, what we need to work on, etc. So starting out, if you're going to be physically writing it down or even just using an online journal, it's going to track most of these things, but we'll still go step by step. So when it comes to your daily review, of course, always the day and the date. What date was it? Was it a Monday? Was it a Tuesday? And whatever specific date it was. The reason being is because we want to track which specific days we do great at and which specific days we may do poor at. So let's say, I'll give you an example for my trading results. Based on my journal, my best days are Monday and my worst days are Friday. So by that information, I've collected that, all right, on Monday and basically every day besides Friday, I can use my regular position size. But on Friday, because I usually end red or do poorly, I'll reduce my position size by half. So let's say on Fridays, or Mondays, if I use 10% of my account in every trade, on Fridays, I only use 5% of my account. Just because if I do end red that day, I rather have a small red day than a full red day, if that makes sense. And then, of course, number two, if we made money or if we didn't make money, pretty straightforward. And then number three, this is definitely important. Well, all of it's important, but I'm going to say that a lot. So number three, what did you trade? Was it options? Was it futures? Was it crypto? Was it crypto futures? Was it regular stock, etc.? We need to figure out where we make the most of our money from. So for example, for me, I make most of my money from futures. So that's usually my main focus when I am trading. And then when it comes to options, the ticker, I mainly focus on NVIDIA or Tesla. And that's basically all I trade when I'm day trading options. When I'm swing trading, I'll usually do other tickers that I like. But generally, when I'm day trading, YM for futures and RTY, and then NVIDIA and Tesla for options. And that's basically it. The reason being is I used to trade like 5-10 tickers a week. And what I've noticed is that with me jumping around so much, it I would get inconsistent results. Like I would trade Meta one day, then McDonald's another day, and then Tesla one day, and then Nvidia another. And then my results were a little skewed because some stocks I was used to. I already knew how, let's say, I know how Tesla moves pretty much by heart. Nvidia, I know how that moves as well. But when I would trade other tickers that may have come up on a scanner, what I found is that my results were inconsistent because I haven't mastered that specific ticker yet. And of course, again, being transparent, I could have spent time mastering all of those tickers. But for me, it was more so, how can I simplify my trading and not make it too complicated? Because if you make trading complicated, it's going to be complicated. If you make it simple, it'll be simple. So for me, I've simplified it down to I trade 2 tickers a day, one for futures, one for options, and that's it. I don't do anything else when I'm day trading. Again, keeping it simple. And from collecting this data, now I know, all right, cool. Tesla does this, Nvidia does that, YM usually does this, or YM usually behaves this way. And now I know what to expect for future trading days. Follow me so far? Any questions? And as you guys are answering the question of if you have any questions, there's 15 people here and 11 likes. So whoever isn't here and hasn't liked the video yet, please hit that thumbs up button or the like button. I will greatly appreciate that. Is this going to be saved? Yes, Real. So this same link that you use to join when I end the stream, it's going to be the same link to join or to rewatch it as many times as you want. So the same link that you use to join is going to be the one that has the recording. Cool. Moving on to number 4 for the daily review, the time of trade. This is very important. So the time of trade, we need to figure out what our most profitable time frames are, or rather the most profitable time is when we're trading. For example, do you make the most money during the London session, during New York session, Asia session, so on and so forth? New York morning, New York evening, so on and so forth. Welcome, Caesar. Great to have you here. So you need to understand that based on your journaling and the time of the trade that you take, you need to review all your trades if you can go all the way back. That way you can see, all right, I'm making most of my money in the morning time of the New York session. And usually in the afternoon of the New York session, I'm either losing money or there's just nothing there that happens. So we can learn from that the simple data collection is, all right, most of my money is coming from that morning session. So it just makes sense for me to not even bother trading the afternoon session. Like for me personally, I only trade the New York trading session, the morning session from 9:30 a.m. to 12 noon. After 12 noon, I stop. I come back at 1 o'clock just to see if my W setup or trade model is setting up. If it hasn't set up by 1 p.m., when I get back on to look at the charts, I completely shut everything down for the day. So the morning session, that's where I make my most money. And then at 1 p.m. Eastern, when I come back, if that specific setup is not there, then I completely don't do anything for the rest of the day. I just shut it down and go about my business for the rest of the day. And I've learned, or I've seen rather, from the people that I've worked with and other discords that I support, is a lot of people like to trade from the beginning of the day to the end. And I think there's a misinterpretation with, if I trade more, I'm going to make more money, which is incorrect, in my opinion. Because if I'm trading more, that's using more mental brain power and I'm getting more mentally fatigued. So the more I'm staring at the charts and looking at the charts, I'm not going to be as focused as I was in the beginning of the day, in the afternoon. So that was the case for me. So for me, like I mentioned, I don't trade the afternoon at all unless it's that specific setup. I'd rather just leave it alone and come back another day, even if I didn't take any setups in the morning. I'd rather end the day at zero than to just force a trade because I need to trade today, which you don't. You don't need to trade every day. It's okay if you don't. Cool, moving on. Number 5, the time frame the trade was taken on. Another important point to make, because what is your most profitable time frame? For those who have been in other of my classes, you have noticed that for me, I mainly get in on the 4-hour as my initial entry for the day. And then if I miss my initial entry, I get in on the 5 or 15-minute time frame to look for a TTO based on the strat. So I only look for three setups on 3 time frames when I'm trading options. For futures, since I have different trade models, I use the 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, and 4 hour, and that's it. I just use those. I don't use anything else. So we can determine, all right, cool. Most of my winning trades can be on the 15-minute time frame, but if I'm on the 5-minute or 3-minute or 1 minute, I'm actually losing more of those trades. So let me focus just on the 15-minute time frame, and let me not even bother looking at anything under the 15-minute or over the 15-minute, whatever works for you. Again, once you collect this data from your journaling, this is going to help you narrow and refine your process a lot. And of course, the next favorite part is the reason for taking the trade. What was the idea behind the trade? Was it a trend trade? Was all the time frames in your favor? What did it bounce off VWAP or RSI or whatever it be that, whatever it is that you may use? Did it reverse off of broader information? So on and so forth. What was the reason? What was the trade plan for that trade? Pretty straightforward for that one. That way we can determine, all right, these specific setups work a lot. Let me focus on this. Let me not focus on what doesn't work. Number 7, for the daily review, I see a lot of people ignoring this one, and I ignored it a lot when I first started journaling as well. So I'm not a saint here. So number 7, how you felt before, after, and during the trade. This is very, very, very important because a lot of people like to not focus on the mental or psychological aspect of trading, which is really the biggest component. Because if you don't know what happens to you mentally as you're trading, what thoughts come up, what emotions come up, what feelings come up while you're trading, then you're going to have a real hard time pinpointing what may be going on. For example, for me, when I started, 4 years ago or so, I started in 2020, and then in 2021, what I would do a lot, I would wake up literally like in 9:25 Eastern, and the market opens at 9:30. I'm half awake, don't know what's going on, I'm super tired, I'll get into a trade. I'll get into that trade, and then I'll lose. And because I lost, how I felt afterwards, I was upset. I'll get annoyed. I'll get angry. And then I would revenge trade to make that money back. But then what happens? When I revenge trade, then I lose even more money. And you get into that spiral where you go on tilt, and then you just end the day even bigger red than you originally started with. Or another example, what I used to do a lot is when I would get into a trade, I would manage it a lot. I'll start to get emotional, like, oh, what if the market takes this profit from me? Let me just, or what if the market takes me out of this trade too quick and then it goes in my favor? Let me move my stop loss a little higher, or let me be a little looser with my stop loss. Or, hey, I'm at 100%. Let me move my take profit to 150% just to get some more out of it and, be greedy, and, those different emotions. So analyzing what affects you mentally and what emotions come up and the thought processes, the thoughts, etc., that come up as you're trading for this specific entry is going to help you a lot in determining, what's going to help and what you need to focus on. And Randy Howell, one of my trading psychology mentors, always mentioned a big component or a big key is when you're in a trade, whatever happens or whatever comes up is what you need to focus on. So if you get in a trade and you see that you're like being emotional and you're like afraid and you start getting scared that the market might take your profit, what do you do when that happens? Do you start to move your stop loss? Do you start to like mess with the trade even though it hasn't even hit your take profit or stop loss? If you do, a solution can be, let me not look at the trade, or let me not look at the trade once I get in. Because once you get into a trade, your job is done. You can't control if it's going to hit your take profit or your stop loss. That's up to the market. So once you get into a trade, if you get emotional by looking at the chart, then what's the solution? Let me take the chart down because, again, I already got into the trade. My job is done. I set my alerts. All I need to do is just wait until it hits one or the other. Again, there's only two outcomes in a trade. You're going to win or you're going to lose. And that's it. And you cannot control the outcome of the trade. That's up to the market and probability. But what you can control is yourself. So if you can stop yourself from messing with the trade when you're in it, or if you can talk yourself to calm yourself down, to not jump prematurely into a trade, then it's going to improve your results a lot. And those are just some small examples of things that, you can work on. Are you doing your journaling live? I do not do my journaling live. I usually just do it by myself after the market closes or after I finish trading. So let's say if I'm done trading in an hour, I'll collect all the data for that day and I'll go through my journal prompts and review the day. What this is today, Ziz or Zfree, however you pronounce your name, I'm just going through pretty much exactly how I journal my trades and my practices and what can help you guys. Is all that making sense? Any questions on that before I continue to the next portion? Care to share a couple journal entries? Absolutely. I'll definitely do that when I'm done with the daily review. And just to get some feedback from you guys, have you guys ever experienced that when you mess with the trade when you get in it? Or if you feel fearful before you get in it, after you're in it, or during the trade? Or if you experience greed during a trade, before it, FOMO, etc. I've been there. I'll tell you that multiple times. And even sometimes to this day, to be transparent, I'm human just like you guys. So the biggest thing is when you feel those emotions and those thoughts do come up, the biggest thing is what do you do when it comes up? So for example, if I get emotional before I get into a trade or when I'm in it, what do? I close my eyes, do my breathing practices, relax, and then remind myself, you did your job. It's up to the market now, whether we're going to win or lose. And if I need to, I'll even go for a walk. Sometimes I do that too. I'll literally, if I'm trading futures, I set my bracket orders. I'll literally go on my balcony and just get some air. And then I'll just come back in like 5 or 10 minutes. Since the trade is just, I automate the trade. So once I enter in, I don't need to do anything. Cool. Hey, Artesia. So moving on, number 8, what type of trade was it? Was it a reversal? These are just some examples. Like, was it a reversal, breakout, day trade, swing trade, scalp, etc.? That way we can really refine what our setups are and where we make our most money. For example, for me, when I'm trading the strat, I prefer reversals. I don't necessarily like continuations. So most of my money comes from reversals when I'm trading the strat. And most of my money as well comes from day trading. I do swing trade, just not as often as I day trade. I'm a more active day trader than a swing trader. Usually when I'm swing trading, I'm either swing trading like regular stock, depending what the idea may be for it, or I'm swinging options when I'm selling premium. Sometimes I'll like swing and go long on the option, but that's very rare. I'm usually selling premium when I'm swing trading options. And then of course, number 9, what did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? What was a big like aha moment or whatever it may be? I'll give you an example for myself. I think it was 3 weeks ago, probably 4 weeks ago, sometime last month, I think. I have a I have a rule where at 12 noon, I get off the charts and I stop because I know myself. If I stay on the charts after 12 noon Eastern, I'm going to take another trade, guaranteed. If I see one of my setups, I am going to take it after lunch. But again, not one of my rules. I cannot trade during lunch. That's a non-negotiable. And what happened a month ago is I was so focused on the chart and a setup of mine that was setting up. It was setting up, I think it was like 12:05 or like 12:10. I was like, ooh, this looks like one of my setups. Let me just wait a little bit so I can get into this. And then once I got in, I realized what time it was. It was 12:15. And then after that day, I didn't get into the trade because it wasn't, again, I was breaking a rule. And then what I learned that day is that while I do have the rule and I am usually good at paying attention to the time, I need to set something else up for my system so I don't slip up. So what I did was I set an alarm to go off at 12 noon every single day to remind myself, and a reminder, hey, it's 12 o'clock, get off the charts. Because if I'm locked in and I lose track of what time it is, I'm going to keep on trading. I know myself already. So that's another way that I can get out of my own way and protect me from myself when it comes to trading. Because that's really what trading is. It's you against you. So you need to learn yourself and learn what works, and learn what doesn't work for you. And then, slowly refine your system and process that way. Cool. Any questions so far on the daily review that you guys have? Cool. Let's keep it moving. So let's review some of my entries. Of course, to be a little private, since I don't like showing my P&L in the world, there's a entry from Friday. So today I woke up a little tired. I didn't sleep too well last night. However, I completed my morning routine, and after I finished my morning routine, which for those who don't know, consists of me going for a little walk, getting some sun, doing a little quick exercise. Usually I like stretch and do some meditation and some yoga and things like that. I usually do like my actual workout routine in the afternoon. I don't like doing it in the morning personally. So after I did my morning routine, I got ready, made some breakfast, and then I got on the charts at 8:30 a.m., responded to some emails, some messages from groups that I support and some students. And from there, when I was done, I started, preparing fully for the day at like 9:10, 9:15. Since I this is not part of my journal, but for you guys, I like to see where price is closer to market open so I can choose a specific contract that I'm going to be trading that day if I'm trading options. Because sometimes at 8:30 a.m., Tesla might be 250 and it might be far away from my short trigger. So I might not even look at to take shorts if it's close to the long trigger and vice versa. Anyway, so I got on 9:15. I saved my long orders and my short orders, or rather the put contract and the call contract that I was going to focus on for options. That way, when the market opens, I'm ready to go and execute either direction immediately. Because again, the biggest thing when it comes to trading is time, and you have to be on point. So on Friday, I took a Tesla 2-down trade, or 2-on-2 down trade to be specific. And I'll actually bring it up so we can see it together. I took a 2-on-2 down on the 4-hour time frame. I went short right here. And then when it triggered short, it didn't immediately go down to my target. It came back up a little bit, kind of hung out. My stop loss was, I think it was $2 away from entry. Was that 247? Whoops, no, 247.44. Yeah, so my stop loss was 250. I had it up here. And once it triggered down, it didn't hit my target right away. It almost hit my first target. And I got a little nervous when it shot back up and it almost came and stopped me out. However, again, I held the trade and then it flushed. It hit actually hit all my targets, honestly. But I only got out at the second target. I got 95% on that trade. And I was very salty when I came back at the end of the day to review, because we can see Tesla got absolutely demolished. I think that thing died 10 points? Yeah, 10 points from my entry. I think the contracts went, hold on, I'll tell you right now. Actually, it expired already since it was 0 DTE. Anyway, my first target hit at about 50% gain. My second contract that I took off, I took the complete position off for 95% gain. And then from there, I just focused on futures for the rest of the day. I did add it, like I just mentioned now to you guys, I did get a little salty because I missed I wouldn't say I missed it, because you can't really miss something that you're not paying attention to. So a little mental note. So in my journal, even though I did say, hey, I was a little annoyed that I missed it, I just reminded myself, I followed my trade plan. I got out when I said I would. And this is just hindsight bias. If this thing hit my second target and reversed all the way up, we would not be having this conversation right now. I will be happy that I got out when I got out. So always a good reminder to note. Cool. So on the futures portion, I took, and again, as I like to be transparent with you guys, for my futures portion of my journal for Friday, I have here, took a lot of trades on futures today. I did trade more than I wanted to. For the 5-minute time frame, I'm going to be focusing, excuse me. For the 5-minute time frame, I'm going to be focusing on broadening formations and taking those trades off of, broadening formations using actionable signals. Like for example, this is the first trade I took on Friday for futures. This hammer off this broadening formation, and I took it up to this broadening formation up here. That was my first trade. And then another trade that I took was this 2-on-2 down, and my target was this broadening formation and this low of day, which didn't hit. It came back and stopped my runner position out. So on the 5-minute, I tend to do a lot better when it's just off broadening formations, not taking, and TTOs as well. But for Friday specifically, this is what I did on the 5-minute. The 15-minute time frame will have to be very specific candle patterns. The trades that I took today on the 15-minute time frame was a 2-1-3 down, as we can see right here. This 2-1-3 down I took. And then the last trade that I took, so the extra trades that I took that I shouldn't have taken was this 2-1-3 down and this 2 down, 2 up reversal, or this morning star pattern on the 15-minute. Because I pretty much made good money on these 2 trades, and I was happy with that. And I was like, I'm happy with this. Let me just stop for the day. However, again, being transparent, I am human. I left my charts open, which when I'm done trading, I shut it down because, again, I know myself. I stayed on the charts. I saw this 2-1 set up, and when it reversed up and it turned into a 3 down, I'm like, nah, I'm taking this, and I'm going to target a specific fib level that I had down here, which it hit. So I was happy with that. And after this trade, I definitely should have stopped trading. But again, I took another trade, which was right here. And then after this one, I completely stopped trading. So what I would mark or notate from my journal today, or my journal entry, is my performance was poor, even though I ended green. The reason being is because I didn't follow my rules, which was once I'm happy with what I made, I'm getting off. I stayed on the chart and I took more trades. So my performance was horrible in that sense. My execution was perfect. I got in when I said I would. I got out when I said I would. So that was great. But my performance on following the rules, super poor. I didn't follow what I said I would follow. So we always will have to hold ourselves accountable for what we do. And we have to learn from that. So what I'm going to try this week, or not what I'm going to try, what I'm going to do this week, I'm going to set a reminder to go off every 45 minutes to an hour to remind myself, are you done trading for the day? If you are, shut it down. Because those trades could have easily been losers, and I would have given back the profit from the beginning of the day. So something to note there. Any questions before we continue? And we go to the weekly review portion. I'll give it another 30 seconds. If no questions, we will continue to the weekly section. And while I am waiting for that question to be answered, is there anyone in here that does not journal or likes to half-ass their journaling? Well, Grim, no more excuses. I literally give you the blueprint on what I do. Get to it. No excuses. If you have half-assed habits, you're going to have half-assed results. Cool. Let's move on. So, weekly review. This is for generally Friday or Saturday. I tend to journal as I trade, text block on chart, but need to get more structured. That is great, Luckner. You can definitely do it as you trade. That's really good. You also want to have, like a journal like this in the sense of to add more specifics, because we're not going to write an essay, on the chart as we're trading. We still want to be focused on what we're doing and looking for the setups that we want to look for. So, that is great. Let's just add more to it and get more structured. So every single day that you trade, you need, not that you should journal, you must journal. So keep that in mind. Every single trade or every day that you trade, there must be a journal entry. This takes maximum 10 to 15 minutes, maybe less, depending how much detail you add. Again, If you want to be successful, a key component is journaling your trades. You can't expect to be the top 10% trader when you don't do this. So keep that in mind. I do it in bursts, so I'll sit down at the end of the month and look through the spreadsheet that I can pull off the brokerage. Oh, Kia, you're definitely going to get a voice note from me later. Definitely fully finish your journal entry and do it properly. Again, this takes a maximum of 5 to 15 minutes, depending how you review. One thing that I forgot to mention, I take screenshots of the specific setups that I take and I add it to my journal. So something to pay attention to if that helps you as well. That way I can look at my entries and then I can also reference the chart when I am doing that. Cool. So weekly review I do on Fridays in the afternoon just because it's still fresh in my mind. Saturdays, I usually just like to relax and just chill. So weekly review I do on Fridays. Again, that probably takes me maybe 15 to 25, 30 minutes, depending how detailed I want to be that day. So going from part one, how was my performance this week? What worked? What didn't? In this sense, how did you perform? Did you follow all your rules? Did you follow the trade plans? If you did, cool. How many days out of the week did you follow it? How many days out of the week didn't you follow it? What worked? What didn't work? One thing that I'll mention is I had a student reach out to me this week. He sent me his P&L for the last 2 weeks. And he told me the red days that I had were the days that I didn't follow my rules. And the green days that I had, I followed my rules and my setups that we went over together. Out of the 10 trading days, he ended red twice because he didn't follow his rules. The other days that he ended green, he followed his setups, he followed his rules, and the trading plan as he had planned out. So remember, follow your rules and you'll get better results. Again, there are going to be days where you end red and you did everything right. That happens to me. That happened to me this week. I think Tuesday or Wednesday. Wait, Monday or Tuesday. One of those days I ended red, but I did everything correct. Followed all my rules, did everything I said I was going to do, and I was just on the wrong side of probability. It is what it is. Can't control that. I did my job though. So remember, red days are to be expected and they are normal. You cannot escape red days. Moving on. Which specific setups performed the best this week? For me personally, 15-minute inside bars, my 4-hour entries worked fantastic this week. And my TTO setups on the 5 and 15-minute time frame. As an example that I'll share with you guys. What was my best day this week? My best day this week was Tuesday and Friday. Well, I guess Tuesday over Friday. And then my worst day was Monday. Performance-wise, my worst day was Friday because I overtraded. And then, of course, did you FOMO or jump into trades early? I find that happening a lot with some people that I know. So you can use this, yes or no. And if you did, why? Did you see other people getting into trades and you wanted to be in a trade too? Were you looking at the P&L section and you wanted to make money too? These are all things that you have to think about when you're doing your review. Because I find a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, well, yeah, people were talking about making money and I wanted to make money too, so I just jumped in. I'm like, you're just gambling. You're not trading anymore. If that's a trigger for you, you need to not be on the charts when you're trading or not be in the chats when you're trading. Number 5, did you practice patience? Did you want to jump into a trade, but you're like, you know what? This is not my setup. Let me wait until my setup appears. Did you practice patience? If you did, fantastic job. Did you manage your trade instead of letting it play out? I'm a culprit of this, especially when I first started trading. I would get in, and then if I get nervous, I'll like move my stop loss, or if I'm in profit, I'll move my runner position and like aggressively manage the trade instead of just letting it do its thing. So, number 6 for the weekly review, it'll help you bring out some bad patterns or bad habits that you may have, so you can work on correcting them and reversing that. Same thing, similar to number 6. Number 7, did you follow your trading plan as you mapped it out? If not, why? What happened? Did you get emotional? Did you get fearful? Did you talk to somebody who was opposite your trade and you thought you were wrong and they were right? There's many different reasons. So be as specific as you can. Let me move this real quick. Did you increase your risk or lower your risk, and why? For those who don't know what risk may mean, if you're new to trading, if you increase your risk, that means you're increasing your position size. Did you go from $500 to $1,000 on a trade? Or did you go from 500 to 200? Why? If you increased your risk, did you lose a trade and now you're doubling down to make that money back? Did you want to pass an evaluation for a prop firm super quickly? Did you lower your risk because you were scared or because you were fearful? Those are all great questions to ask yourself to figure out what's going on, so we can get to the bottom and the root cause of what's doing this. And then, of course, number 9, what can I improve or work on for next week? So for me, in my weekly review, what I can work on and what I can do to improve is I can set a reminder to go up every 45 minutes to an hour and remind myself. I'll probably do 45 minutes, or actually no, every 30 minutes. That would help me better. That way, all right, cool. Hey, Advent, it's 10 o'clock. Are you done for the day? Cool. I'm going to click on it, or I'll click on it to let myself know that I'm not done. And then I'll just continually, look at the reminder every 30 minutes until I am done, or if it's 12 noon, whichever comes first, or if I hit my max loss for the day or my max losing trades for the day. So that can be something that I can do myself for next week. I'll ask you guys that question. What's something that you guys can do to improve or work on for next week? Letting trades fully play out. Definitely, Ghazi. I hear you on that. For those who mention that they don't journal properly, or if they half-ass their journaling, what you can do to improve for next week is when you journal, do it properly, do it fully, And this is a forever thing. As long as you're trading, you're going to be journaling. Get into the habit of that. As I wait for more questions, in about a minute or two, I'm going to open it up for questions. So any questions you guys have in relation of today, if you want to share any of your experience based on the questions that we've gone over today, you can definitely let me know in the comments, or in the chat rather, and I'll give you my feedback on where you can definitely improve. Kia mentioned I can improve on stop jumping in before your trigger tells you to. Absolutely. Work on that FOMO. Remember, and you definitely know this, Kia, if we miss the initial entry, TTOs exist. So there's no point in feeling FOMO. You're being like, oh my God, I'm going to miss the move. You might miss that initial move, but if it is going to be a trend day, a setup is going to appear for you. We just have to wait. Any other improvements or anything else that you guys may want to work on for next week? If not, I'll open it up to questions. Ask me anything in relation to today and journaling. If you want to share any of your experiences, definitely do so, and I'll give you feedback on things that you can look into and work on so we can improve. If So Valid is in here, or however you pronounce your username from 100K's group, the Hungries, you asked TradeMaker, when do you recommend trading? My good sir, that is a question you have to ask yourself. Paper trade for the next 2 weeks and trade whatever sessions you want and see the results that you get. If you make most of your money during New York, only trade New York. If you make most of your money during Asia or London, only trade those sessions. Moving stop up in fear. And something to note as well, of course, with emotional regulation techniques and breathing practices, etc., there isn't anything magical that anybody, well, I wouldn't say that anybody can teach you, but after reading books and having your practices, at the end of the day, you still need to physically stop yourself from doing that. If you find yourself about to mess with your trade, that's the last step in the process of being emotional or being on tilt. Because we don't get into trade and then immediately get emotional and then mess with the trade. It's a step-by-step process. For example, for me, my step-by-step process of being emotional is first, I'll grip my mouse tight. And the next step is I'll stop blinking and I'll just be locked into the chart. I won't even blink. I'll just be like this, like a zombie. Well, maybe not like a zombie, but just like locked in. And then the last thing that I know I literally need to like get off my charts, I start sweating. When I feel myself sweat, I immediately get up and go for a walk outside for like 5-15 minutes and do my breathing practices. Because if I stay after that, I know for a fact I'm going to go into tilt and it's going to be a disaster. So that's the last physical tell that I have before the emotions fully take me over and I start doing stupid things. So for you, Artesia, before you start moving your trades, what is happening? What is triggering you? If you're looking at your P&L, you need to turn your P&L off because it's not about the money. It's about following your plan. The money is irrelevant to you trading. Money is the outcome of your performance in your system. The money that your P&L didn't exist until you got into the trade. So why are you looking at it? And this goes to anybody that may have that issue. I had that issue. I turn my P&L off on every platform that I use. I know how much money I made when I do my journal at the end of the day or when I'm done trading. Because I'm going to get emotional if I look at my P&L. So I completely eliminate that trigger from my viewpoint. So again, the P&L did not exist until you got into the trade. So turn it off. Don't look at it. It is irrelevant to your trading plan and it is irrelevant to your trading system. Like I just mentioned, the P&L or the profit or the loss that you make is the outcome of the process. And you cannot control outcome. So keep that in mind as well. Cool. Yeah, that's good too, Luckner. So whoever trades futures, depending what platform you use, like on Tradeovate, I hide my P&L and I just have like my bracket orders on the screen, and that's basically it. If you use like Thinkorswim, or not Thinkorswim, well, yeah, I guess Thinkorswim too. If you use TradingView, NinjaTrader, you can change it. So instead of it showing you the dollar amount that you're up or down, it just shows it in tick value. Are you up 10 ticks, 20 ticks, etc. So the number fluctuation doesn't trigger you as easily. So something to keep in mind of. Cool. Any other experiences or any other questions that you guys have? Hey, my pleasure, Grim, of course. As my biography says for the YouTube channel, I'm dedicated to sharing my experiences to helping you guys out. I really wish that I had me when I first started trading. So I'm like, all right, let me give myself to the rest of the world and other traders that it may help and benefit. Because at the end of the day, especially in trading, it is a lonely career. And if you don't know anybody in real life or in your close proximity of friends and family that trade, they don't understand it. If you tell them, hey, I got super emotional and I messed with my trades today, they'll be like, oh, well, just don't do that. But it's like, if you don't trade, you don't understand what happens when you're in that moment, right? So, having a place where we can all come together and learn from each other, and me sharing my experiences and everybody else sharing their experiences definitely helps a lot, because again, we're not the only ones, and we have a nice community here where we can learn from each other. So sweet. Yeah, and you'll be surprised, like the way you can meet certain people. Like, I'll give you some insight for those who may not know me that much or watch that other video that I made that's like 3 hours long about like my trading journey. But the only reason I even have a YouTube channel and like I teach people how to trade and like, help you with your system, etc., is my life coach and one of my mentors, like in my real life. He told me, you seem to be good at teaching, so why don't you monetize that? And I'm like, that's a good idea. He's like, yeah, you seem like you're a natural coach. Why don't you just monetize that and make that a thing? And we literally spoke on that. What was it? 2022. I think it was in February or April. And in 2 years, here I am. 1,500 subscribers, over 1,500 subscribers. And I want to thank each and every single one of you. I appreciate you guys a lot. And, here I am teaching people, monetizing my gifts, and helping everybody out. And then from there, in terms of trading strategy and stuff like that, the strat I learned randomly. I ran into my friend from middle school when I was still living in New York, near where I live. I haven't seen him in like a good maybe like 8 years, maybe 10 years. Sometimes I'll run into him randomly. But I ran into him randomly that day. That was what, 2 years ago. And we catch up, we talk a little bit, and then he sends me a message on Instagram a week later. He's like, hey, you told me that you're into trading. There's this guy who just made over like 100K on Nvidia. He's selling his course and an entry to his group for $30. I'm like, all right, it's $30. What do I have to lose? I've lost more than that on the trade. So I spent the $30, got into his group, And that's where I learned the strat. And I met all my strat mentors in there. So shout out to 100K. Shout out Trust My Levels. True to the Strat. Faith in the Strat. Brown Strat King. Love you guys. Help me a lot. And from them teaching me, I'm teaching you guys. So we've all come full circle. So very, very interesting how life works sometimes. So if you guys let me, I will talk for hours. So I want to bring it back to you guys. Any questions that you have on what we went over today? Any other experience that you want to share? Any feedback that you may want me to give you? And if you may be a little shy to share in the open with the world, you're more than welcome to book a free discovery call with me. The link should be in the description of this video or my other videos. And we can talk. We can see what's going on, where I can help you. And if we're a good match, we can work together and move from there. I'll give it another 2 minutes. I'll give it another minute. If there isn't anything in another minute, I'm going to ask you guys one more question and then we'll wrap up. So the timer says 106:20. At 107, I'll ask you guys the question if I don't receive any other questions. And then I'll ask you guys one more question for engagement. And then from there, we'll wrap up and end this show. If you ever make another Excel spreadsheet, please do it with formula so it auto calculates, because I still haven't figured it out. You know what's interesting, Grim? Let me see if I'm going to see if I can bring that up, because I haven't used that Excel sheet in a really long time. Where is my Excel sheet? Give me a second. Let me bring this up. Options log template. I'd imagine that's the one, right? This one, Grim? Gotcha. Cool. So I used to use this to keep track of all the trades that I took and that we called out in my Discord. I did get lazy and stopped doing it, but also I kind of shifted my Discord from like a signals group to more of a building self-sufficient traders, because there's many signal groups out there. But my main goal, and while I do shout trades out every now and then in my group, my main goal for my group and my Discord is building self-sufficient traders. Because when it comes to signals, my personal opinion, I'm not knocking anybody. Signals are definitely great and you can make a lot of money from it. Just for me, my whole idea behind that is, I want to teach you how to fish and to be successful in your own right. If anything ever happened to me or the Discord or whatever, then what are you going to do, right? So my biggest goal is just creating self-sufficient traders. For those who are in my group, you'll notice that we don't talk a lot in there, because everybody that I train, I always tell them, when you are trading, not the group, not this chat, not that chat, you in the charts. When you're done trading, then we can all have fun and talk. But until then, focus on what you're doing. And Grim, when you were, actually, I think I can probably do the formula now. Hey, you're very welcome, Real. Yeah, your charting looks good. If it was you that mentioned that on the questions and answer section, good stuff. Grim, to be very specific on the calculations, do you mean do you mean like the entry and exit to discover the percentage that you make? Because the percentage, I just used what did I use? Oh, I used this. I just use this calculator. So I'm like, all right, I got in at 1.0 on the contract. I got out at 1.76. Calculate. All right, I made 76% on that specific trade. All right, let me go back and then let me type in 76% or whatever it was. I'm sure there is a way where you can calculate the percentage. I just always did it manually. Excuse me. I just always did it manually. But I just used that website. But again, I'm sure there's a way. I just don't know how to do it. The most that I can probably do is, let's go here. And then we can collect all these. So H2 to H327. And then we could just have here like total percent gained or whatever it may be. I'm sure if you go like on YouTube or Google, like how to calculate percent gain or loss on Excel, I'm sure it'll give it to you. It shouldn't be too crazy, honestly. But definitely taking an Excel class would help a lot. I always would recommend taking classes. I'm taking a class on speech and communication myself and like public speaking. One thing I've noticed on reviewing my YouTube videos, I say a lot, and I just heard myself say without me even like purposely doing it. So I need to get better at that. So I'll just have like regular pauses as opposed to being like, yeah, this, as opposed to just yes, or whatever it may be, without using the word so much. I think in my guide to prop firms or the video that I made for the ATM settings, I say like 30 times. I'm like, super cringy. I might need to re-record this in the future. But, we're getting better. Cool. So it looks like there aren't that any questions really that you guys have. As we wrap up, and I just said, and again, I just heard that. So as we wrap up, what was everybody's biggest takeaway, or what was the biggest thing that you learned in today's session that we went over? You can type it in the chat. So the biggest thing that you learned today, or your biggest takeaway from today's class, type it in the chat. The details of the daily review and having a weekly review for journal. 100%. Usually when I work with people who journal kind of, they're like, yeah, I journal. I would write that I won today or I made money today. I'm like, all right, what specific setup did you win today? They're like, I'm not sure. I'm like, all right, what time did you take that trade? They're like, let me look at my trades in my broker or my trading platform, and things like that. So the more details and the more structured we are, the better results we're going to get. Always keep that in mind. If I actually want to be successful, I first need to be consistent in my efforts. 100,000,000%. Remember, being a profitable trader is not an easy journey. It's going to be challenging. And, once you get the results are great, obviously, making money by pressing buttons, etc. But you always need to ask yourself, what is it going to take? If it was that easy, everybody would be here. But the biggest thing is, what is it going to take? And am I willing to do that? Are you willing to be consistent in your efforts? Are you willing to properly journal every week and get proper data to better help you succeed? Are you willing to follow your rules and to stop your bad habits and work on your bad habits? Are you willing to do that? Many people are not. Many people are lazy. And I'll tell you from myself and my experience, I used to wake up like at 11 p.m., not 10 p.m., what am I saying? I used to wake up at like 11 a.m., 10 a.m., wake up late, get to the market late, all that stuff. But it wasn't until I took this more serious. All right, you want to be a successful trader. What are you willing to do? And what are you willing to give up? I am willing to wake up early and go to sleep early and have a proper routine. I am willing to stop going to bed so late, playing games and watching TV shows and going out. That is what I'm willing to give up for what I want in the future. And thankfully, I had friends who were understanding. Hey, if you guys may want to go out, I'm not going to go out for a long time. I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to lock in. I will gladly take or sacrifice a year worth of not going out to lock this in. Because once you get this down packed, it's easy. Well, let me not say easy. It can still be challenging sometimes. I still have days here and there that can be a little challenging, but it just gets easier. So that's a question besides these questions, for those who are still here, that I'll ask you to ask yourself for tonight and the next week as you journal. What are you willing to change? What are you willing to give up? And after you make those changes and you give up what you are willing to give up, what are your results going to be? What is your life going to look like when you make those changes? Where are you at right now? And be as honest as you can. The more honest you are with yourself, the better this practice is going to be. And I get it. One thing that I find when people don't like journaling is because it's going to tell them about themselves. People don't like that. People don't like to look at the mirror. I had a student the other day. I told him to sign up for, and I said again. I told him to sign up for TraderSync to pool all his trades for the last few years. He's like, oh, I'm afraid on what I'll find. And I'm like, ooh, this is the juicy part. This is the part that sets us away from the people who don't do well in trading. This is the next step in your trading journal, getting past that hump, that fearful hump. And based on his results, when he uploaded his trades, he generally did better in the morning and did worse in the afternoon. So I have him only trading the morning session, not the afternoon, so we can hone in on what works. So again, be as honest as you can with yourself. Ask yourself, what am I doing now that is not conducive to my trading career or my goals that I want for trading? And what can I change, or what can I do to reach the goals that I have for trading, right? And take as long as you need to. If you need to take 30 minutes to an hour, pen and paper, people, pen and paper. You can do it on the computer, but it's more ideas come out when you physically write it down. And it's a little more of an intimate process. And again, I get it. We may not want to look in the mirror. It's hard. It's easy to just blame other people. Oh, I'm losing money because of the market or because this person gave a poor signal. But if you bring everything and you boil it down to the root, who's at the root? That's you. You are at the root. Nobody told you to FOMO into that trade and then you lost. And then you'll be like, oh, it's the market's fault. Was it the market's fault? Or was it your fault for getting into the trade early? Oh, I lost money because of this guy who threw the signal out. Was it their fault? Or was it your fault for taking it without actually doing your own analysis and over leveraging? A lot of things in trading can be brought back to ourselves. And a lot of people don't like to do that. But that's going to be a big determining factor on your successfulness, if that's even a word in this context, for your trading career or your success in your trading career. There we go. Better English. Cool. So before I make this into a lecture, I will stop there. Thank you guys for coming out and, attending the class. I hope this was helpful to you guys. Again, I appreciate you guys for coming and hanging out with me and letting me teach you this stuff. I appreciate all the likes, all the views, all the subscription. Each and every one is greatly appreciated. If you aren't a subscriber, I would definitely appreciate if you do subscribe so you can get notified when I have more of these live classes. But again, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys very, very much. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I will see you guys on the internet. Take care and have a good night.